Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Pauline, and you are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. We have a lot to discuss as far as basketball is concerned. There's some injury updates that I have to give you guys, as well as Serena Williams and what she has been doing over in Australia, and quite a few other things that have been happening around the world of sports. So we have a lot to dive into. First off, I'm going to get you guys set up with the update of what happened in the world of NBA basketball. So yesterday we had quite a few matchups actually, and like Ben and I discussed yesterday, it was a holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so there were quite a few games going on throughout the entire day, which is really nice. It's always nice when you can spend the entire day watching basketball. And so I did want to give an update on my horrible prediction with the matchup between the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors, as well as, like I said, an injury update, Anthony Davis and what's going on with him, and as well as Chris Paul, who had to leave his game a tad bit early as well. And so let's just jump right into the mix. First off, we had the Hawks go visit the New York Knicks. They defeated them by 108 to 107. Dennis Schroeder, who we discussed a little bit in both the basketball podcast yesterday with Ben. So if you guys have a minute, you guys can definitely check out the GSMC basketball podcast where Ben and I both host that one as well. But Dennis Schroeder, he had 28 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Carmelo Anthony trying his very, very best, but it could just not push over that hump for the New York Knicks. He had 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Trailblazers went to go see the Washington Wizards, but could not buy a basket late. They lost 101 to 120. Damian Lillard, he put up a nice 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. Markieff Morris, he had his own double-double last night for the Wizards, 17 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. The 76ers finally got a win against the Milwaukee Bucks, defeating the Bucks 113 to 104. Joel Embiid, he had a nice double-double with 22 points and 12 rebounds. He also put up 2 assists, so that's really nice. Our main guy, Giannis, had 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. He's consistent for the Milwaukee Bucks, is he not? And then we move on to the Pelicans and the Pacers. Now, the New Orleans Pelicans went to go visit the Pacers over in Indiana, losing to them barely, 95 to 98. Terrence Jones of the Pelicans had 15 rebounds. Make that 15 points and 8 rebounds for Terrence Jones. And Jeff Teague of the Indiana Pacers, he had 16 points and 8 rebounds, but he had a nice double-double because he threw 10 assists for the Pacers. Now, the big story coming out of that matchup last night is the fact that Anthony Davis did again have to leave the game early. And I feel so bad for that guy because I've said it and I've said it again. And I'm probably going to keep on saying it the way that, events just go for him, is that if his body can just keep up with what he is trying to accomplish in the NBA, he is a phenomenal player. And we know that he is a great player. We saw it when he was in college. We see it in the times that these healthy stints that we get with Anthony Davis. I just really wish that his body could keep up with where, the plans that he has for his NBA career. He did hit the ground hard, colliding with an Indiana Pacer, and he fell down on his back. He was able to throw up a pair of free throws before walking into the locker room where he did have x-rays. As of right now, those x-rays are negative, and as far as we are concerned with Anthony Davis, he may probably sit out at least one game to kind of nurse his thumb. It was his thumb that he hurt, as well as his back, like his lower back, more of his hip and pelvis area. So, like I said, I just really hope that Anthony Davis's body can keep up with him. He's a strong guy. It's not like he's as scrawny as we remember him back in his college playing days. He has put on a lot of weight since he's been in the league. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if his body, I don't want to say that his body is frail, but his body's kind of frail. And it's not like he just gets tapped and he's hurt. He does, sustain some major collisions. And so that's the other thing too. So hopefully he will be able to heal up. I want to send the guy some flowers and tell him to get well and stay well soon. The Magic went to go see the Denver Nuggets. They lost to them 112-125. It was a great game over there for the Denver Nuggets. They had a consistent, they owned their first quarter, throwing up 39 points, but only allowing the Magic, they had 36 points in the first quarter, but the Nuggets held them to less than 30 the rest of the game, and that's really what helped secure that win for the Denver Nuggets last night. The Hornets went to go see the Boston Celtics, falling to them by 10. They fell 98-108. Marvin Williams of the Charlotte Hornets, he did his best. He did 21 points and 4 rebounds. Our guy Isaiah Thomas, he threw up 35 points, 5 rebounds and 4 assists. I would have liked to have seen him have some more assists, being the point guard and the leader of that team over there for the Boston Celtics. But, he did throw up a nice 35 points, so that's good too. But I just love it when point guards get the rest of their teams involved. We are going to visit the Cavaliers and the Warriors in just a moment because I wanted to give you guys my confession on how bad I predicted that game. But anyways, the Utah Jazz defeated the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix 106-101. Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz, he had a nice double-double with 18 points and 17 rebounds. He played very, very well for his Utah Jazz. And so although Eric Bledsoe, he threw up 31 points. He was just shy of not only a double-double, but he could have even had a triple-double. He had 9 rebounds and 9 assists, so he just needed one more apiece in each of those categories to have a smooth triple-double against the Utah Jazz. The Thunder fell hard to the LA Clippers. The Clippers defeated the Thunder 120-98. Yes, they were in Los Angeles, so you could blame it on the home court advantage. But, the Thunder are 10-12 away. So they're not terrible when on the road. They're not phenomenal either, but they did lose to the Clippers. Russell Westbrook of the OKC Thunder, he, like Ben predicted, did fall off that triple-double bandwagon as far as last night is concerned. He had 24 points, 5 rebounds, and just 4 assists. So I understand as far as being a point guard, the rebound category, that makes sense to me, only having 5 rebounds, but 4 assists, especially from a guy like Russell, who has been really focusing on assists these last few weeks and doing well in that category. To have just 4 assists, I don't know what was going on with him. He just was not able to get the job done for the Thunder. DeAndre Jordan was a top performer as a center for the Clippers. He had 19 points and 15 rebounds, so he secured himself a double-double and even had 2 assists, so he did very well. Now, moving on to the big matchup of the day with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, it's something when you have the best player in the NBA on your team, but he is not the best player of the game. LeBron James, he had 20 points, but he was only 6 of 18 from the field, and so he did not do well. And actually, the Cleveland Cavaliers as a whole was only shooting 35% from the field, 26 from the three-point line, so they did not do well at all. They were also out-rebounded by the Golden State Warriors. The Cavaliers only had 45 rebounds to the 69 rebounds that the Warriors snagged on those possessions. So the Warriors did take care of the job at home, defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers 126-91. So not only did they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, they actually owned them last night, which, I mean, if you were me and you said that it was going to be a close game and the Cavaliers were going to actually win the game at the Oracle Arena, then you are definitely disappointed, because they And honestly, no matter what time you turned on that game, unfortunately, you would see that the Warriors were beating the Cavaliers basically right off the gate. Steph Curry had those quick pair points up on the board, and from then on out, it was all in the hands of the Warriors. So they did a pretty good job of securing that win at home. And with that, we are going to jump to our first break of the episode. When I come back, like I said, we have to discuss Serena Williams and what she is doing in Australia, as well as some other sports and things that have been going on since yesterday. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. I'm Pauline, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. And to wrap up this NBA segment of the podcast, I did just want to give you guys an injury update as far as Chris Paul having to leave his game against the Thunder last night. And then the Thunder also had to which could have, and I agree, if you agree with me, I'll go as far as to say may have suffered that terrible loss to the Clippers last night due to the fact that Steven Adams, he is out as of right now with a concussion. So like we have already experienced before, as far as concussion rules are concerned and policies within the NBA, he will need to be evaluated. He's going to actually have to show no signs of symptoms of a concussion. They're going to do some testing on him as well to make sure that he is fit to play. So I don't see, there is no timetable for him as we speak, but I don't anticipate him returning too soon. So we'll have to wait on an update for him with that. And so moving on to the world of tennis. Now, the Australian Open has officially kickstarted. And with that has been a kickstart with Serena Williams, who has just secured another win at the Australian Open. Now, the thing which I believe is so cool about her and what makes this Grand Slam and a potential Grand Slam win so exciting as well as historic is the fact that if she were to win this next Grand Slam, she will hold more Grand Slam titles than any other player in the Open era. So that is including men and women. So she currently is in a tie with Steffi Graf's Open era record at 22. So if she is able to win this slam, she will have 23 wins out of the 29 Grand Slams she has appeared in and will take that record. So once she reaches 23, now once she hits 23, that is an accomplishment in itself. Actually, just 22 is an accomplishment of itself, but 23 will break the record for the current Open era as far as records are concerned. But if she hits that 23 mark, it does not stop there, because if she were to win a record 24 Grand Slams, that will have her tied with Margaret Court, who has the all-era record. So not just the record for the Open era, which she could potentially smash if she hits that 23rd mark. But the Margaret Court all-era record is sitting nicely at 24. So Serena Williams potentially could not only break a record that she is in a tie with at this moment, but could set herself up to potentially tie and, I don't know, who knows, break the all-era record of 24. Now, Serena, she is 35. She is, we're kind of seeing a peak now with her as far as age is concerned. She is also engaged as well, and, could potentially decide to take a break. Hopefully not. I don't know. After getting married, she has also she has admitted that although she was recently engaged during the holiday season, she hasn't thought much about it because rightfully so, she's over here trying to break records. And so she is not going to worry about the wedding plans or anything like that until around February, she has said. So I don't know. Because a lot of times once you get married, you get settled in. I don't know if she's the type of person who's going to put her career on hold to start a family, or if she even wants to return to the court after getting married. I don't know. So we're going to have to see what she decides after she gets married. But I guess we can first just wait and see what happens now. And so, like I did mention, she did win that first set against. Now, the nice thing too that I wanted to touch on when it comes to Serena is that she did beat Belinda Bencic. Now, the thing about that is that Belinda did beat her last time that the two met up. So that was also a nice, satisfying win for Serena there. And so actually with that, we are going to jump into our last commercial break of the episode. And when we come back, there's a few other things I want to touch on with you in the world of sports. Wrap up this Australian Open and tell you guys where you guys can watch it as well for those of you, because this not only was Serena, but there have been talks with there's been some retirement talks on the men's side that we have to touch on that I don't know, it makes me kind of anxious. It's interesting because some of these great players that we've grown up watching, at least that I've grown up watching and loving, are now in their prime, kind of on the other side of their prime. They're slowing down a little bit as far as their careers are concerned. And so we're going to touch on that when we come back. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and we are getting ready to wrap up this episode. But before we do, I wanted to make sure to give you guys some tennis to look forward to as well. Like I mentioned, the Australia Open taking place in Melbourne, Australia right now, actually. Now they are hosting the second round of the men's singles. We have quite a few Americans, some of us, our fellow countrymen, competing there in that Open. We have John Isner facing off against Misha Zverev of Germany in the men's singles second round. We also have Ryan Harrison facing off against Tomas Berdych in the men's singles. Noah Rubin is going against Roger Federer. And now Roger Federer and Nadal were two guys that are tiptoeing retirement. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they do in this Open, and if that will dictate what they're going to do with the rest of their careers. Moving on, we do have Steve Johnson facing off against Stan Wawrinka. And then to wrap up late tonight, as far as Eastern time is concerned, taking place at 11:30 Eastern time, we have Jack Sock, who is ranked number 23, taking on Karen Khachanov. And so, excuse me, I did definitely pronounce his name incorrectly, and I apologize for that. But so that's going to be what's happening in the Open today. And as far as men's singles are concerned, it's going to be a little bit of a wait if you guys want to see the women's singles. Those are taking place later on today. We have, and starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time today, Serena Williams will be taking on Stephanie Vogel. So if you guys are looking forward to perhaps watching Serena make history, that's when it's going to be taking place later on today. And as far as watching the U.S. Open, see, now that's the thing with some sports, it's not, you got to kind of search high and low in ways to see some of these matchups, as well as some of these tournaments, especially international tournaments. So I wanted to make sure to give you guys a way to enjoy these matchups throughout this evening and late into tonight for those of you who are big fans. And so if you wanted to watch them, then you can go on to, so there are a few ways that you can watch some of the great tennis stars in the 2017 Australian Open. And now the thing is you don't have to stress too much about it, because one, I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to watch it, as well as the tournament is a 2-week tournament. So just because if you're not able to watch it today, if you missed some matches last night, it's okay. You do have a few more days to watch. So you can live stream on Australians Open TV live. So, and if you do have a cable login, you can watch live, overnight, and daily recap feeds on ESPN2 through the semifinals, and then the finals of the singles tournaments, as well as the men's, women's, and mixed double tournaments, will be live streamed on Watch ESPN. And so there are some ways, like I said, that you could definitely watch some of these matches without having to be there. If you are there, lucky you. And so if you're wanting to see perhaps Serena make history, Federer in his last, I don't think last, but potentially one of his final Grand Slams, then there you are. And let's take it now, moving on to some more information. Well, not more information, but some other news throughout the world of sports. So I wanted to jump over to now, as we move into the world of soccer, here's an update for you guys that may have some of you guys very excited. Diego Costa, returned to Chelsea's first team training today and could actually be set and ready to compete as they face off against Hull City this weekend. Now, this has been confirmed by ESPN FC. Now, the 28-year-old, he was training alone both Sunday and Monday. So these last 2 days, he has been with Coach Antonio. The other Chelsea players, they had those 2 days off after defeating Leicester City in a 3-0. Excuse me. Wow, that was hard for me to get out of 3-0 win on Saturday. And so they had the last 2 days off. However, like I said, Diego Costa, he has been training on his own. And contrary to some people, some reports saying that this was due to as like a punishment due to an argument that he had earlier with the fitness coach and Coach Antonio. That is not correct at all. But it's basically to help him in his recovery from a back injury that he has suffered. So that is some exciting news as they prepare for their next matchup. And moving on to some more soccer news for you guys. It looks like Lou van Gaal out of the Netherlands, he's actually planning on retiring from coaching now, and that he actually thought about quitting after the 2014 World Cup. And so instead of taking on that job in China, he is actually going to just retire, stating that is due to family reasons. So hopefully everything is okay with him and his family going forward. It looks like Manchester City's Sagna has actually been fined 40,000 euros by the Football Association due to a social media post in which he may have questioned referee Lee Mason's integrity following the 2-1 victory over Burnley earlier this month. So he is going to have to pay up when it comes to that post. Now, I wanted to just go back and refresh everyone's memory on that media post. And so basically what it was is that he did post this on Instagram. The caption was 10 against 12, but still fighting and winning as a team. It was also released in a statement from the governing body that he had been fined for misconduct in relation to a comment posted on social media, and that the Manchester City defender was, quote, also warned as to his future conduct following the Independent Regulatory Commission hearing. The player was charged in that his comment questioned the integrity of the match official and or alleged and or implied bias on the part of the match official and or brought the game into disrepute, contrary to Rule E3. So he has been hit with that fine that he's going to have to pay up soon. And so, you know, again, I've talked about this before. I think we actually talked about it. It might have even been yesterday's yes, it was yesterday's episode when discussing Steelers Antonio Brown. Sometimes players just need not to post on social media as a way to vent or share or explain or whatever it may be, whether it's during celebrations, whether it is during frustration. Ball players, no matter what the sport is, no matter what the age, no matter what the rank as far as celebrity on a team, fan favorite or not, should just not post on social media in my mind at all. If especially not when they are upset. You can definitely be hit with a 40,000 euro fine, $40,000, whatever your currency may be. So that's going to actually do it for this episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. You have been listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast, and Ben will be with you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your day today, watching sports all day long. I'll talk to you guys next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.